Most VCs would agree on one headline. European VC ecosystem is not pausing, it is currently pivoting. That's very important. For us, Venionaire, as active investors and experts in the field, we see that one should capitalize on opportunities that others overlook, as well as one should be very creative and look for opportunities that are able to bring not only the financial gains, but also the impact.
Hello and welcome to Venionaire Insights, provided to you by Venionaire Capital, the entrepreneurial partners for venture capital and private equity. Geopolitical tensions, macroeconomic developments, and also very interesting dynamics in the venture capital and private equity space. These are the things that we're going to talk about today. And with me again, I have Denis Voldman, lead investment analyst. Hello.
Hi, Philipp. Great to be here again.
Nice, Dennis, to have you again. As I said, very interesting developments the last few months. So how did you perceive the macroeconomic landscape in these last few months?
Well, Philipp, I can tell you that I think this quarter, or even maybe the entire year of 2025 so far, felt like tapping the brakes in heavy traffic. Because several very significant geopolitical movements have been noticed. The global output, for example, grew at its slowest pace since mid-2023. This with the inflation softening further to last year's levels. Not only that, some other curveballs hit the road, such as the Washington new reciprocal tariffs that hit a lot of countries, especially the EU countries, as well as the far-right gains in June's EU recent elections. And of course, the oil price surge that basically drove the Brent oil prices to its highest in months. These all, I think, set the tone for cautious yet active investing.
Okay, as you said, the tariffs have shaken up the economy. How did that influence the venture capital and private equity space?
So tariffs indeed undermine the European VC ecosystem as well as the private equity ecosystem. Nevertheless, the European startups and also technology growth-based companies managed to secure around 38 billion euros in this last quarter, Q2 2025. This is significantly up from the results of the last quarter with definitely several outlier rounds. Yet we still see a decline in deal count. We see that the number of deals fell below the level of 1,000, which is very significant compared to previous quarters. That, as a result, leads to the average deal value of even in the range of tens of millions. Which is quite extraordinary for Europe. So we definitely see a clear trend. The rounds are getting bigger. That also explains the fact that currently the funds, the investors, becoming more and more cherry picky on the investments. That means the startups have to show much earlier the product market fit. They have to show faster growing customer base. And most importantly, a very sustainable customer base that has a very low churn rate. Which becomes a very significant issue for many companies out there. Therefore, investors and actually both startups recognize the need to lean towards newer strategies, such as, for example, roll-up strategies. We see a significant boom in these strategies, as we also mentioned in our previous video. Now with, I would say, a more clear and defined focus towards these strategies, shown by both investors and, most importantly, the companies themselves. So, for example, we at Venionaire actively support both our clients and portfolio companies in, I would say, executing smart consolidation through, for example, the roll-up strategies.
Okay, so we have also fewer but larger rounds and different strategies, as we also covered in the first video, as you said. As we experienced, UK and Germany are the biggest nations when it comes to funding rounds. Has that changed, or do we have different developments around this year?
Yeah, so definitely the top three almost never changes, and this quarter hasn't been an exception. We have the UK, France, and Germany being the top three VC ecosystem in Europe. They constituted around 70% of the entire funding volume in Europe. Nevertheless, we definitely see that despite London, Berlin, and Paris, there are other ecosystems that are showing quite significant traction, with Spain and Turkey showing above 3 billion in investment volume, which is very significant for these countries. Coming back to a more local area, Austria has secured just 91 million euros this quarter, which is a very significant drop from their last year's result, which was, of course, driven by a very few outlier deals. So this is, I would say, we're back to normal here. Generally, regarding the VC ecosystem in Europe, we could say that there is a very, very significant trend of consolidation. We see in terms of the deal count, the top three aforementioned countries constituted 50% of all deals in terms of deal count, and 70%, as mentioned, in terms of the funding volume, which only tells us that due to the ongoing macroeconomic challenges, like we also discussed together, it's actually becoming harder and harder for emerging ecosystems to develop. Therefore, we think that with resolving several macroeconomic challenges, we expect the emerging ecosystem to push up a little bit, and therefore the top three would still hold up, but maybe lose a bit of traction compared to the emerging ecosystems that were definitely waiting for their moment for a while.
Okay, so the top three countries remain top of the list, but we have a few outliers and opportunities there. You guys, analysts of Venionaire Capital, prepared the top industry trends for us again. So what are the top industries that we can look out for 2025, the rest of 2025?
Definitely in this quarter and also the first quarter of 2025, we see a strong traction shown by deep tech and defense startups. It is becoming a very, very big topic in Europe, especially the defense area, and the double usage solutions that provides two angles, two types of exposures definitely rise. As a result, we see some strong deals, namely the largest deal that is not actually from one of these sectors has been the Turkish-based Dream Games with $1.3 billion as investment volume. Then the German-based defense company Helsing with 600 million euros raised in this quarter. And of course, the last place is UK-based wealth management platform VNZ that raised $500 million in investment volume. We definitely see strong traction in European startups, especially in deep tech and defense areas, but also as mentioned in other sectors. But I would say these two sectors combine smaller deals, but a very, very high number of deals. That as a result, we see their dominance in the space.
Yeah.
What's interesting and noticeable is that AI startups and machine learning startups obviously rise, same as we discussed in our latest video. What's even more noticeable is that these sectors managed to overtake SaaS sector as the most dominant VC sector globally, which is a great achievement, I would say, as the SaaS lost its throne that they held from 2013, which is actually very interesting how the trends are changing now. So we definitely see that more companies would pivot from typical SaaS solutions to more, I would say, agentic-based, AI-based, machine learning-based solutions. And we definitely already see more and more companies calling themselves AI. And yeah, of course, that's a big development right now. Another interesting development that we saw is that the climate tech sector that has been booming starting from 2019 to 2021, 22, started to cool down significantly. We see less investors pivoting and preferring this sector over other sectors, and more investors, of course, going into AI, machine learning sectors, as also mentioned before. Nevertheless, the upshot in this is that the energy efficient software actually raises money faster than the hardware startup that burns it, which is very interesting. And Nevertheless, we at Venionaire, with our dedicated Invest CC fund that is focused on circular economy startups, continues to double down on this sector, continues to build its pipeline of companies for potential investments, since we believe that still selecting the best top of the class opportunities in the sector is able to yield significantly greater returns, not only returns, but also the impact, which is very important and core in our market as well. Not only that, but we at Venionaire continue to double down on deep tech sector in particular. Among our recent deal activities were breakthrough in next generation energy storage solutions, of course soon to be announced, and continued progress in photonic computing with our recent and very major announcement, Quant, a leading name in the space.
Yeah, okay. You mentioned the Invest CC fund. We're currently fundraising for this fund. What is your take on the fundraising environment in general?
So definitely fundraising environment has not been easy in the last quarters. I would say that all started in 2022, 2023, where the problems began, where the investors started to, I would say, pile up the dry powder and not deploy that actually. As a result, we see only 24 venture capital vehicles or funds that were raised in the last quarter, which is significantly down from the last year's result, for example. Nevertheless, we see that the specialist funds rise. Same story with our Invest CC project, which is a very highly specialized fund. So we see some successful stories from the funds that specialize on specific industries, areas, or focuses. We see also some development on generalist side with European Scale-Up project, which also attempts to deploy around 5 billion euros in European late-stage startups, which is, of course, a very significant movement, as the late-stage startups right now actually do need liquidity and do need to bridge this liquidity gap. And therefore, this fund project is very exciting.
Okay, very interesting. As you mentioned earlier, AI, it is the turning point of the year. We also covered that in the last video. How do you think that the rapid development, the rapid pace, and also the continuous development is influencing the startup ecosystem in general?
So talking about the ecosystem, I think it's important to also mention the headcount development, the personnel development, HR in startups, especially in these sectors, where we definitely see a trend that entry-level tech positions decrease more and more. Every month, or even faster actually, we see around 10 times less job posts in this area, which is very interesting compared to, let's say, 5 years ago, where this was the dominant roles, where the hires increased, let's say, month over month over month. Now, nevertheless, we see more and more job titles with AI name in it, which not necessarily actually mean working in AI. Nevertheless, it is clearly now more and more startups look for AI roles in it. Not only that, an AI developer in Europe can actually get around 10% more salary than any other IT developer right now, which for European Union is actually a very significant development. We have not yet seen the proper statistics on the US market, but we expect a very similar direction over there as well. So now we see something that is very fascinating. Any startup is becoming an AI startup, or they at least hire like one.
This is indeed a very interesting and fascinating fact, so to say. When it comes to exits, there was a big talking point in our first video, Denis. How are things going here right now?
It is definitely a very interesting topic right now. And I would say unlike in our video, what we discussed, the public markets have not yet greeted newcomers with very warm welcome. We still see that trade sales dominate, and in general, M&A exits are preferred by the European VC. As a result, we see $7.2 billion in VC-backed exits this quarter, which is, I would say, very high, since most of the exits, the vast majority of the exits happen through this channel. one of the success stories in Europe that we see was 2.9 billion acquisition of the Netherlands-based crypto exchange Deribit that was executed by Coinbase. Definitely a strong development for the European VC ecosystem. In general, this is actually opens up a new trend that we have noticed quite a while ago, but now it's becoming brighter and brighter, of the US companies acknowledging the scale and talent potential that Europe has, while the companies having much cheaper valuations and trade at much cheaper multiples here in Europe than in the US. Therefore, the American-based companies acknowledged that and finally decided to execute on this momentum. And we would probably see a bit more acquisitions of the American companies acquiring some European-based companies.
Okay, interesting development. Also, as you said, finally they're executing here. I'm looking forward to the 2025 future of venture capital and private equity. What is your take on that?
I would say investors sketch three main scenarios. In the base case, the trade fights cool down. We see more countries renegotiating the trade agreements with the US, and as a result, also the rates stay low, and that leads to very decent results shown in the VC ecosystem. The second downside case, which would then mean that trade fights continue, they accelerate actually, which then leads to late-stage companies suffering especially. They would then have to, I would say, breach their liquidity gaps with private credit, which bear additional costs to them. And of course, the third scenario, which then claim the IPO window to reopen finally, which activate this large dry powder that is held by especially European investors as well. And of course, could potentially cause the year-end's rally in the VC ecosystem. No matter what scenario actually plays out, I think that most VCs would agree on one headline. Simply, European VC ecosystem is not pausing, it is currently pivoting. And that's very important. For us, Venionaire, as active investors and experts in the field, we see that one should capitalize on opportunities that others overlook in the sectors like climate tech, as mentioned, as well as one should be very creative and look for opportunities that are able to bring not only the financial gains, but also the impact.
Oh, so we live in times of change, times of transformation. We will see which scenario will play out. Thank you, Denis. It was really nice talking to you. Thank you guys for watching. Leave a like, comment, and we see you guys in the next episode of Venionaire Insights.